Welcome to Tech Smarter. My name is Abby Ritchie. I am the host here, and this is where we talk with innovators, operators, and investors who are actively engaged in the future of aging services. Today's episode is brought to us by Leading Age Arizona and sponsored by the Smarter Service. Now, if you are a senior living operator and you're struggling with your residents' tech questions, and we know their questions have questions, reach out to me on LinkedIn and I will let you know exactly what to do, because we have professionalized this type of service, which is just growing and growing and growing. Huge demand. Now, I'd like to go ahead and invite my guest back. We have Rob Liebreich of Goodwin Living. Welcome back to Tech Smarter, Rob.
Great to be with you, Abby. Thanks so much for having me again.
Yeah, you're welcome. You know, Rob, I first got introduced to you, it's got to be like years ago, when you're talking about memory and brain health. And I just was fascinated with that, having struggled through that with one of my parents, and connected with you on that point. And I've just been an avid fan and follower of yours ever since then. So I'm thrilled and honored to have you back on the show and just to reconnect with you and everything that you are doing at Goodwin Living. So well done. And for anyone who's not familiar with you, could you please introduce yourself and how you got into senior living?
Sure. Yeah, I've been in senior living since 2002. I came in because I had a personal experience with my grandmother who was supposed to move into a senior living community, and I sat bedside with her the day that move was supposed to take place as she passed away. And that really compelled me to shift from telecommunications, which was my field before, for just about 10 years into senior living. And when I first started, I came in through the marketing and sales side. I spent 5 years working with Brightview Senior Living and doing that's a for-profit entity, and helped them grow from 6 communities to 16, which was a great experience. Lots of learnings there, and transitioned into Erickson Senior Living, then into PRCN, or what is now Transforming Age, which was a not-for-profit, back to a for-profit with Aegis Living, to a not-for-profit at Asbury Methodist Village, where I've visited today. And then for the last 6.5 years, I've been in service as the CEO and president of Goodwin Living, which has been a wonderful experience, faith-based not-for-profit, serving folks in Northern Virginia and Washington, D.C. area.
Amazing. You mentioned so many different large networks of communities that we're actively engaged in, and just so impressive to hear where you've been and what you've been doing. And, you know, I have been following you and I've seen the way you've turned Goodwin Living into like a hub for
Hmm.
senior tech. You know, I want to talk about what tech you're really excited about right now when it comes into the therapy and the brain health space.
Yeah, two really great areas, and you referenced our talk before about brain health, and that program, StrongerMemory, now has crested over 60,000 individuals impacted, lives impacted across the country, and starting to be around the world. And as a reminder for your listeners, that's a very simple program, very accessible program. It's very low tech, actually. It involves reading out loud, writing by hand, and doing simple math on a consistent basis. The hard part of that is the consistency of doing that work. It needs to be done at least 4 times a week, if not more. And I'd say on that front, starting there and then coming to therapy, we're really excited about the idea and the prospect of digitizing that work to help people track the work that they're doing on a daily basis. And that's a step that we're looking forward to taking in the next several months. But one of the most exciting parts is that work started with a professor out of Japan, Abby. And I know you've got a Leading Age Arizona sponsor today. So it was at a Leading Age conference in Denver back in 2012. And I remember walking in, sort of having some time on my hands, and went into a session where there was a report out about doing this exact work, reading out loud, writing by hand, and doing numeracy with people in nursing home settings, and work that had been researched in Japan and then translated into the United States into a nursing home, Eliza Jennings in Ohio. And at the time, my mom had just been diagnosed with mild cognitive impairment in 2011. So now 1 year later. There's no cure for any of this stuff, unfortunately, yet. And they're reporting out that for every person who took part in their trial, instead of having cognitive decline continue, they saw a plateau of those individuals and oftentimes an improvement in their cognitive scoring. And this was folks in skilled nursing. So I thought, gosh, that's amazing. Dr. Kawashima had done the original work out of Tohoku University. And I said, well, gosh, if it's working for nursing homes, maybe I can pull it upstream and introduce it to my mom, who's definitely more independent than that. And within 30 days, it worked tremendously well to have her doing those three things consistently. And for 13 years now, she's now coming up in 14 years, she's been remarkable in her brain health. So that was the impetus for creating a program for others to be able to follow. That's the StrongerMemory.org. Anyone can go there and download the curriculum that we've created there. And it's been really rewarding to see that roll out. But we have been missing something along the way, and that's been our ability to actually see the results right away in individuals. And we just had this conversation with Dr. Kawashima. For the first time, I had the chance to meet him. He was in Japan, I was in the States, but we were virtually meeting. But they have a company called Thinkie Systems, and Thinkie is a neurofeedback tool, and it allows you to track the blood flow to the prefrontal cortex, which is right here behind the forehead. It's an area that really engages the working memory of individuals. And it's the area that, when engaged, we have seen tremendous success with older adults who had challenges with cognitive health really start to improve. And so having this immediate neurofeedback through a sensor, I think I can show it to you. Yeah, there you go. So
Okay.
the Thinkie sensor, and it comes
So
with.
let me ask you something. Is that using infrared technology to show brain activity while it's happening?
It is using a sensor that using that technology exactly, and so tracking that blood flow, you can actually see, and I've done these tests myself personally, where you're reading silently and there's only so much blood flow and activity to your brain, but now you start to read out loud, and the quotient goes up, and if you read out loud quickly, it goes up even higher. So you can actively see what's happening in your brain, which in theory should give individuals even more motivation to stay focused on doing the work. And that's what we're just trialing this out right now. We're really excited about working with Thinkie Systems. They're headquartered both in Japan, but also in Washington State out of Seattle. And they're an AARP tech collaborative organization. So they've gone through some credentialing, which is great. And that's, I think, really exciting for us. And we feel like if more people could do these simple things daily, we could really push off the need for care by years. In my mom's case, it's been 13 years. She hasn't had to move into a dementia care setting. She hasn't had to bring in extra hands to provide care for her. And when we are at a time where we're doubling the number of older adults in our country, and we are also facing a low birth rate, and we are not welcoming so much of immigration, then you have to prevent the need for care. That's the only path that's left. And so we think StrongerMemory, it's research backed. It helps people with their cognitive health at a lot of different stages, independent living, all the way through skilled nursing stages. And we want to roll this out to more people. So the Thinkie system is a good adjunct to show that instant neurofeedback.
What is the reaction from residents when they actually see their brain lighting up on a screen?
Yeah, we're just starting to get into that. It's really fun. There's a lot of curiosity, a lot of interest for it. So we're just literally starting those pilots right now with our residents, and brought on a new team member, Dr. Kevin White, who's running those sessions with our residents directly, and really showcasing this. So it's been really intriguing. We actually did it with a group of residents, both independent living, but also a group of residents who have more cognitive challenges. And the group of individuals with more cognitive challenges were really curious and really excited for it. So they really like seeing that instant feedback. So I think that's a positive sign for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. We found also when working with older adults that when you can show something visually, you give them some visual proof, it really moves the conversation from "I can't do this" to "look at what I just can I can do. So it is very exciting. You mentioned about the neurofeedback, and that Thinkie really focuses on the prefrontal cortex. How does having a brain meter change the way residents engage with their own cognitive health?
I think once you see the impact, it's like you can't unknow it, right? So once you know that there's actually betterment happening in your brain, you want to keep doing those things that are going to be better for your brain. And so if you had a habit of reading silently, which most people do, you're not reading to an audience. Now you see that reading out loud really is powerfully helpful for your brain. So now you want to read out loud more. This is what I experienced from our residents early on, even before we had a neurofeedback loop, is that, after people started reading out loud for a couple of weeks, they'd come back to me and say, Rob, I don't have any cognitive issues, but I read the Bible every day. Now I'm reading it out loud and my focus is so much better. So they already had a sense that just by doing the work, they could tell that things were improving. And now you have the ability to see this visually, as you referenced. It's really could be a game changer for folks to really push them over the edge of doing this simple work consistently daily. It's sort of trying to make everyone see, like, if you're brushing your teeth, twice a day or once a day at least, that's a good habit. Now we can make reading out loud a similar habit. Do it 5, 10 minutes a day and see how amazing the impact is for one's brain.
Yeah, purpose driven is so key to this. And we have found that when we help residents really connect these tech tools to their personal goals, whether it's fitness or even just health monitoring, that makes the digital experience so meaningful for them. So I'm super impressed with the amount of people that you've been able to reach with Stronger Memory, and the coverage for that. How is the rollout going, and what are some of the biggest lessons you've learned from this massive rollout?
Yeah, I mean, it's all been organic, Abby. So a lot of this is trial and fire and learning along the way. We did our first pilot programs back in January of 2020. So those were in person with our residents at Goodwin House Alexandria, Goodwin House Bailey's Crossroads. And what we found was sort of profound. It was that the work itself was helpful. Doing the reading out loud, doing the math, it was motivational for a number of people. But was even more gratifying, I think, was couples who had been married for 50 years or more coming back to us and saying, "Gosh, these writing prompts are spurring wonderful conversations between us, and we're spending hours in dialogue in a way that we haven't done for years." And so you get this uplift, sort of this connective uplift, because people are talking again and there's curiosity back, and there's this deeper connection that's occurring. And I think that was one of the early surprises that has played out in the research. The George Mason University has been our research partner for over 4 years, and initially when they did the study, we came to them with our results of pre and post testing on cognitive health, and they said, "That's great, but let us go out and test and verify." And they found the same results we had found with over 100 individuals, that this was statistically significant improvement in one's cognitive health after just 12 weeks. And that was helpful and great to see. And then they also verified that by doing it with a social network, by having a group that you come together with on a weekly basis, or a consistent basis, and they hold you accountable, that your cognitive health improves even more. But not just your cognitive health, your overall well-being and sociability improves. And so, there's additional elements here that we didn't really think about when we started. So I think that was one of the big surprises. I think the other big surprise, Abby, for us has been, we don't charge for the program. It is complimentary. We've spent millions of dollars in building it and getting it out to the masses, and that's all been done through generosity, through donors to our Goodwin Living Foundation, which we're extremely appreciative of. And now we've got partners that are seeing the work and saying, okay, well, let's make this even more accessible. So Fairfax County government, the largest county in the Commonwealth of Virginia, translated the program into 7 additional languages for us for free. And that allows us to, go out and impact now over half the speaking world, if you will, with the languages and the programs that are the curriculum is available. So I think just finding these allies and partners along the way has been a real nice uplift and surprise. Village to Village Network was one of the very first groups that came along with us, and now we're seeing more and more opportunities with partnerships, which is really rewarding.
Yeah, scaling a program for free is true thought leadership. And it really proves that the digital divide can be closed when we prioritize accessibility over profit.
Yeah, I think that's very true. And with that, I think people often associate free with not very valuable. So I've had a lot of conversations, even with my own parents, my mom and dad, who are at the forefront of all this, saying, "Well, shouldn't we charge people so then they'll see there's value to it?" And I keep thinking, like, yeah, there's probably a group, a cohort of folks out there that makes sense for. But at the end of the day, so many of older adults don't have resources. A $500 bill would put them into bankruptcy, a third of our older adult population today. That making it unaccessible because of a financial burden doesn't make sense when we all could benefit from a cognitive uplift. So I think you're right. It is amazing to see, and it's hard to give away a free service sometimes. But opportunities like this to speak with you and your constituents is certainly helpful.
Thank you. You mentioned just a little while ago about adding technology and adding AI to the Stronger Memory. And how have you been able to blend that?
Yeah, we're just getting started. So the key for us there will be more of a tracking encouragement tool. So it's not that we want people to, reading out loud is reading out loud, writing by hand is writing by hand. Although our therapy team has shown that even if you virtually write, because some people have challenges with their hands, but if you virtually go through the exercise of writing, it still has a positive effect, which is good. So it's really in the encouragement zone that we're trying to focus on. How do you keep older adults motivated? That's a big question and a big key. And so having tools that give you a streak that you're building on, and a reminder on a consistent basis, and a community that you connect to, those are all the things that we are endeavoring with the digital side of the digitization of the program.
You mentioned earlier about partnering with AARP, the AgeTech Collaborative. Are you also doing this with another partnership called Vitala? Vitala.
Yeah. Vitala's been awesome for us. One of the things we learned as a provider a few years ago is we wanted to take in our own therapy services. This has been really helpful for us as an organization. It's been a financial improvement. It's been a continuity of care improvement, and those are you don't usually find those wins where you can do better service, but you can also have a financial uplift. So we took our own therapy services in house in 2021, and so actually in 2020, and so that shift allowed us to start doing outpatient therapy as well. And as we started to do that work, we came across this organization called Vitala, and Vitala has a deep deep library of programs and opportunities for people to do exercises that are helpful, evidence-based programs that are helpful for their well-being. And then it adds in that tracker capability and the ability to see, are people staying compliant with what has been advised by the therapist. And so that combination has been really powerful for a number of older adults that we serve, to the point where our team can catch things if people are all of a sudden falling off, and they were doing their work but now they stopped doing their work. We can really check in with them and sort of, hey, are you okay? And we've found people who all of a sudden have fallen ill and have been able to come around them in a different way, just by having that visibility from a technology standpoint into their daily habits. It's been a really good thing. And now what we're doing with it is, as an organization, we're a faith-based not-for-profit. Our hope is to serve as many older adults, uplift them, really support them in in this moment in their lives. And so we're working with a lot of lower income individuals that are in HUD housing, and et cetera, around our area. We don't own it, we don't operate it, but what we're doing is offering free exercise programs. We're doing that on a consistent basis every month, and it could be twice a month. It could be every week. And we're now able to take those individuals and enroll them in the Vitala program to see how they're doing in sort of their consistency of exercise and movement. And again, it's been really rewarding to see the engagement improve because of these kind of tools.
Do you have any specific examples of how your therapists have been able to prescribe and monitor the resident movement?
Yeah, I mean they're providing direct specific exercise regimens, care plans to the individuals that they're working with. Our and there's a gentleman that is just coming out of having some cardiac challenges, and they were able to prescribe a specific program. Then they could see with the Vitala whether that individual is staying consistent with the work. And again, we're able to come around to him when there was a fall off all of a sudden. The reverse of that, they had another individual that was doing great work, and could just applaud them for that effort, right? So sometimes it's more about getting the positive feedback from the therapist and tying it in with their consistent visits. But the Vitala platform has really helped us be able to track and really engage the individuals better and keep them more motivated.
Yeah, there have been other technologies that I've consulted with and interviewed that really help with the post-acute therapy. And so let's just say, how does this help residents remain active after the formal therapy ends?
Yeah, so that's the really nice thing, is that you get into a rhythm and a habit, and we can continue to work with you with the Vitala platform to track your ongoing exercise and engagement. And again, even though you're not on our roster, so to speak, officially, we still have an interest for you to do well. So we still can check in with you to say, hey, is everything okay? Notice that you were working hard the last few weeks, but the last 2 days, things haven't been going as well. So even when you're not on the therapy services, it doesn't mean that we're not going to care about you or come around you. And that's been really, really nice to be able to do as a benefit for older adults.
Yeah, we see this somewhat similarly with the smarter service because we know that technology support, it's not just a one-time fix, it's an ongoing need. It's truly looked at as infrastructure as opposed to an amenity providing this at senior living communities. And we found, like, even when you're talking about something like fraud prevention, like, you can't just talk about that one time and think that that'll do it, right? Like, it's an ongoing conversation in a very similar way.
Yeah, I think that that consistency is so important, Abby. I think you're exactly right. And there's so many things that are out there to distract and pull our time. So you needing to repeat things, needing to come around people consistently, and for the things that we already know are so important, like movement, physical movement is critical to one's brain health. It's critical to one's heart health. It is critical to one's longevity pathway. If we overlay tools that are not too intrusive, really, but really supportive, then we have a win. And we certainly are seeing that right now.
Awesome, awesome. You've tackled therapy and memory with these partnerships. What's the next major problem you're looking to solve with technology?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think for us, we have an amazing moment in our lives right now with the growth of artificial intelligence and the potential of artificial intelligence. I have a team member who 6 months ago didn't know anything about artificial intelligence. Within 6 months, is able to create their own tools to help us with better compliance management. And just to see the swiftness that can be executed and deployed with some curiosity and some resources and tools at a very low cost but a high impact. I think, Abby, that's where we're going to be heading as an organization more and more. So as our nature has been, as we learn things and see these opportunities, we'll make them available for everyone, and hopefully others will get to benefit from our learnings. But just to see the speed by which someone can go from 0 to 60, and really change how we do business, and the flow and the processes, I think that is the game changer that's upon us.
Awesome. I love to hear that. Rob, with just a couple of minutes left, if people have questions about the amazing things that you're rolling out, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
Yeah, I'd say a few ways. I certainly would encourage folks to go to goodwinliving.org. You can see a lot about our organization. People can always email me at rliebreich@goodwinliving.org. I'm on LinkedIn a lot. That's an area, platform that I like to use as well. And we're learning from so many others. And so I'd say, we're doing a lot, but we are definitely open for learning. And if there are great things happening out there, look forward to connecting with folks for sure.
I have one last question for you. And as the Smarter service grows, we've started serving the Florida market. So I'm totally curious about how you've been able to see the Florida market. How is it influencing senior living as you pilot and scale new tech?
Yeah, so we're based in Virginia, so that's a key factor for us. But as you roll out into new states, I think what you're finding, I'm guessing, is a lot of openness and excitement. And our residents, as we're serving a younger cohort, I think the baby boomers are just turning 80 right now, Abby, right, for the first time. So they're 1946, coming into turning 80 in 2026. So that's a good sign because a lot of these folks that are coming through are quite tech open.
Mhm.
They're open to technology, they're open to using new tools, and they're curious to try to do them. And I think that's a real benefit for all of us right now is there's an appetite and an openness and not so much of a fearfulness. Now that doesn't exist for everyone. There's still some folks that are concerned about the utilization of technology, but I think in Florida and Virginia or wherever folks you're finding, I think we're finding a much greater ally in the older adult population today as it relates to technology, and that's helpful as we have these new ways to come around people.
100%. Yeah, we found the same thing as the population ages and is more tech open, as you mentioned, like the excitement grows and the residents will just be moving in with more and more technology and devices, and we need to be there to serve them and support them. Well, Rob, I just want to thank you for being here with me today. It's an honor and a privilege, and as you were speaking, I remember seeing that very first interview with your mom, and like it just really truly warms my heart. Thank you so much for serving so many people. And for those of you that are watching this, thank you for your comments and your participation. And we will see you right back here next week.
Thanks, Abby.
Welcome.